Hello everyone and welcome back. So today we are going to be building this Find Images apps, and as you can see, this is the final project, and up here we have the search field and also the result here. Okay, so by default, if user go to this website, it's going to be showing the cut category, okay, the cut image. And also I can search any image I want. For example, let's say dog here. Let's hit enter and I have dog. Okay, so I can also say see, hit enter, and here we go. Okay, nice. And as you can see, we also have the loading skeleton here, and as you can see, nice. And also this is a responsive. If I open in the mobile, it's gonna be look like this. You can see 4 column, 3 column, 2 column, and then 1 column. Okay, nice. So yeah, that's what we are going to be building. And technology what we're going to use is basically we're going to use Unsplash API, and also for the styling we are going to use Tailwind. Okay, and of course we're going to use React. Okay, so yeah, that's what we're going to be building, and let's get started. Alright, so in here I've already generated create React app with yarn, and as you can see here we just have h1 with app here. So the result is going to be here. As you can see, we have app. So now what we need to do is let's create another component inside the source here. I'm going to create a folder called, let's say, components folder, and inside in here I'm going to say Jumbotron file, jumbotron.js file. So in here I'm going to say rfce. This Jumbotron is basically this background here with a black color. Okay, so let's create that. Let's go back here, and I'm going to remove this div, and let's create a div here with a class name. Oh yeah, we need to install the Tailwind first, of course. So let's stop the server here, and I'm going to search for Tailwind. Alright, so now let's go to the docs here and choose the framework you use, and I'm use create React app, so I'm going to click that, and let's click this copy here and go to the terminal and paste that in here. Okay, just hit enter and wait for that. Alright, so it's done now, and as you can see here we have new version of npm. I'm going to install that later. So now I'm going to go to the Tailwind documentation and copy this content here. Okay, this content array, and I'm going to open the Tailwind config and put the content here like that. Now save and close that. So now we need to just copy this css and put that right here. Okay, so save that. So now we can use it. So let's go back to Jumbotron here, and I'm going to run the server again. So let's say yarn start. Okay, I'm going to make it small, and also now the text is going to be changed, as you can see here. Nice. Now what we need to do is let's put div here with some class name. So the class name first is going to be background gray, let's say 900. All right, and also I'm going to add the display flags here and put everything in the center. So I'm going to say item center, and also the padding vertically I'm going to set that to 10. Okay, so let's make it bigger, and inside this div here I have another div. And in here I'm going to add class name. So let's say class name set equals to the maximal width. I'm going to set that to, let's say, medium. And also for the mx I'm going to set that to auto to make it center, and also the width I'm going to set that to full. Okay, so in here I'm going to put the h1, and the text is going to be find images. And also let's add class name here. Let's say class name set equals to the text is going to be white, and also the text is going to be center, and also let's say text to XL. Let's say the font I'm going to set that to bold, and also the margin bottom, let's say 5. Okay, if I save this and let's take a look, nothing happened because we don't yet import this Jumbotron. So let's go to app here, and I'm not going to use div, I'm going to use React fragment, and also here I'm going to render the Jumbotron here like that. Now if I save, and as you can see, nice, right? So inside this Jumbotron, I'm going to put the search field. So now here, I'm going to put, I'm gonna grab the children here, okay, the children, and put the children inside in here. Let's say children, like so. So now let's go back to the components folder here. I'm going to add another component. Let's say SearchField.js file. Okay, so in here I'm gonna say rifce, and let's remove the import react here. We don't need that. So now let's remove the source field text, and inside this div I have the input and also the button, right? So let's say button, and the text is going to be search. All right, so now if I save, and as you can see we have this search and this button here. Okay, so now we need to styling that, and I'm going to make it look like this so you can see clearly. So I'm going to add a class name in this input. So the first thing is the background. I'm going to set that to 5D, and also the border, I'm going to set that to 1 pixel, the border width, and also the border color. Let's say border, I'm going to say gray 300. Okay, and also the text, I'm going to set that to small, and I'm going to give a width to full, and let's say the indent, okay, let's say 2. And also the padding, I'm going to set that to 2.5, and let's say the outline, I'm going to set that to none, and let's set the, when I focus on the input field, I need to have border, let's say border blue, okay, let's say 500. And also when I focus on the input field, I also need to have ring, let's say 2. Okay, and also I'm gonna add the rounded here, let's say top left. Okay, and also the rounded, I'm gonna say let's say bottom left. Okay, so now let's save this and let's take a look. Yeah, as you can see, this border is basically in the top left and bottom left. Okay, as you can see right here. Nice. So now let's add the placeholder in this input search. So let's go back to input, and in here I'm going to add placeholder. Let's say placeholder set equals to, let's say search anything. Okay, and now we should see this placeholder. Nice. So now let's styling this button here, but first I need to add a class name in this div, which is flex, like so. So now we should see this input field and this button right here. Okay, so now we need to styling this button here. So let's go to this button, and I'm going to add class names here. So let's say class name set equals to, the background is gonna be blue, let's say 600, and also the padding horizontally, I'm gonna set that to let's say 6, and padding vertically, I'm gonna set that to 2.5, and also the text should be white. Okay, so let's take a look. Okay, nice. And also we need to add the rounded here, because as you can see here we have the rounded, and also here we need to add the rounded as well. Let's say rounded top right, and also rounded bottom right. Okay, so now if I save, and here we go. Okay, nice. But I need to have some styling when I click this search. So let's say focus here. So let's say focus. If I focus on this button, I need to have ring. So let's say ring, let's say 2, and also let's say when I focus, I need to say the ring is going to be blue, let's say 300 maybe. And also here, if the button is disabled, I need to change the color to gray, let's say 400. Okay, so let's see. Okay, nice. If I click this, as you can see, nice. And also if I add the disable props in this button, so let's say disable true, as you can see, the color is changed. Okay, nice. So now what we need to do is, let's go to final project here. We need to add this component here, which is the title here, and also these images. So now let's go back to our VS Code, and in here I'm going to create a file called images. So let's say images.js. Okay, so let's generate functional path component, and I need to import these images into the app here. So down here, okay, so let's say images. All right, so now we should see these images right here. Okay, nice. So let's go back to the images component, and in here I'm going to use a React fragment here. So let's say like so, and also here I'm going to put h1, and the text, it should be, let's say, result for maybe cats. Okay, so let's styling this h1 here. So let's say class name, the text, it should be into the center. Okay, and also the margin top, I'm gonna set that to 6, and also I need to have underline here, and the size, let's say text to XL. Okay, it's now save, and let's take a look. As you can see here, we have this text here. So now let's create the images. So first we need to add the div here. So in this div, I'm going to add a display grid here, but first I need to add, maybe for now, h1, so you can see the results. Let's say image 1, for example, and I'm going to copy this couple times. And in this div here, I'm going to add class name. Okay, so let's put a display grid, and also for the medium, I need to have let's say grid columns, let's say 2. Okay, for the large, I need to have grid columns to 3, and also for the extra large, I need to have grid columns to let's say 4. Okay, so now if I save and let's take a look, as you can see, we have 4 here, and if I open that into the mobile, as you can see, 3, 2, and then 1. Okay, nice. So now we need to, let's say, add the gap here. So let's say gap to 4. Okay, let's say 4. Also the margin vertically, I'm gonna set that to 10. Okay, nice. All right, so now let's working with the API. So let's go to Unsplash documentation here. Okay, Unsplash developers, and in here you need to create a new application. And for this final project here, I'm using this application here. Okay, image search filter. And let's add new application, so you can follow me. Let's check all these checkbox here and read all the rules and accept the terms. And the application names, let's say image search. Okay, and for the description, I'm gonna say image search as well. You can put any description you want here. So let's create application, and here we go, we have the application here. Okay, so now what we need to get from here is the access key here. So let's just copy here, copy the clipboard. Okay, so let's create the environment variable in the root here. So let's say .env file, okay, which is environment. So in here, I'm going to say, let's say React underscore app underscore, I'm going to say, let's say access key. Okay, so set that equals to, we're going to paste the code that we get from this access key here. Okay, just copy and paste that right here. So now we save, and let's go to the yeah, we need to add the useAxios first. So let's create the folder called hooks here. So let's say hooks, and inside this hooks, I'm going to create a file called, let's say, useaxios.js file. Okay, so we need to use Axios package, so we need to install that first. So let's say yarn, add Axios. Okay, but of course we need to return all of these state here. So let's go to return, and I'm going to return object, and let's say response set equals to response, and is loading set equals to is loading. But if we have same name, we don't need this. Okay, just remove that. Let's say just response is loading, and also error. Okay, it's do the same thing. So inside in here, okay, I'm going to add the base URL. So let's say axios dot default dot base URL. Okay, wait, base URL set equals to, let's go to the Unsplash documentation. Let's just click this documentation here, and let's click this search photo by keyword. Okay, so we are going to use this link here. So I'm going to copy the base URL here and paste that in here. Okay, and now here I'm going to create a function called fetch data. Okay, set equals to, I'm going to create async await function here. So let's say async set equals to row function. Okay, so inside in here I'm going to use try and catch. So let's say try. Down here I want to say catch. Okay, we catch the error, and also down here we grab the finally. Okay, so in this try I'm going to set the is loading to true, right? And also I'm going to say cons rest set equals to, I'm going to wait for, let's say, Axios. Okay, this is Axios get basically. So I'm going to put the URL here. This URL is come from the props here. So let's say URL, not props, but URL. Okay, and also down here I'm going to set response into response.data.results. Okay, so inside this catch here, okay, we need to add the set error into this error, and also finally we set the is loading back to false. Okay, nice. So now we need to add the use effect here, because when I call this useAxios, I need to the fetch here running. So let's say use effect. Okay, it's going to be a row function, and the dependency should be the params. Okay, the param is going to be come from the useAxios here. So let's say param. Okay, so let's send not send, but let's run the fetch data inside this use effect, and we are going to put the param as well here. Okay, and also we need to send the fetch data in this return. So let's say fetch data set into URL. Okay, and we need to run the fetch data, and then we put the URL right here. Okay, this is for the search enter. If I enter, I need to run this fetch data. Okay, all right, I think we're done with this useAxios, but of course we need to run the server again. Yarn start. Okay, and let's make it small, and now let's trying to fetch the data inside the app.js here. Okay, so in here I'm going to say cons. I grab the response, the is loading, and the error, and also the fetch data. All right, fetch data, and here I'm gonna say set equals to useAxios. Okay, this useAxios come from the hooks here, and here we need to put the, let's go back to documentation, and we need to use this search here. Okay, search, and then photos, the page, and the query. Okay, we need to copy that, and let's go to the useAxios here and paste that in here. Okay, but of course we need to also send the client ID. So let's say and here, let's say client, okay, underscore ID set equals to, and we are going to put the env variable here. Let's go to env variable, and I'm going to copy this variable here, and let's go back to app, and in here I'm gonna say process.env.react app underscore access key. Okay, so now if I do this, okay, as you can see, the useAxios here, it should be running because we add the use effect here. Okay, so now we know that if I console log this response, we get the data, right? So let's try. So I'm going to say console log response. Okay, it should be a response. So now if I save this, and let's go to React app, and if I inspect and see in the console, as you can see, we have this data here. As you can see, we have this array 0 for the first time, and then we get array 10 here. And as you can see, we get all this data. Okay, nice. All right, so let's go back. So now what we need to do is we need to send this response into the images component. Okay, we can say response that equals to response in here as a props, but we're not going to do that. We are going to use context API. So now let's create the context up here. So I'm going to say comment here. Let's say create context. And also here, I'm going to export variable called image context. All right, so that equals to create context, come from React. All right, so now what we need to do is in here, I'm going to wrap all this component inside the images context.provider. Let's say provider, and we also need to say .provider in here. All right. Of course, we need to remove this images context like that. And in here, we can say value set equals to value. Okay. So this value is basically a variable we don't have yet. So let's create the variable here. Let's say const value set equals to object here. And I'm going to send all this value here. Let's say response. Let's say it's loading. Let's say error. Let's say fetch data. Okay. So now we can grab all this value into the component here. So first, let's go to images. In here, we are going to get the response and the is loading. So let's say const. We grab the response and the is loading. Okay, it's come from the use context. Okay, so we are going to put the image context inside this use context. We can map through this response in here. So let's say response.map. Okay, we grab the data and the key here. Set equals to, in here, I'm going to render the image component. So we don't have yet. So let's create the image component. So let's say image.js file. And let's say rfce. And in here, I'm going to say image. Okay, it's come from image. Okay, come from this image here. And also here we are going to send the key. Okay, set equals to key, and also the data set equals to data. Okay, so now we should see the images right here. Okay, so now what we need to do is go back to image here and we grab the data here. So let's say data. And in here, I'm going to use anchor tag so user can click the image. Okay, so inside this anchor tag, I'm going to use image. All right, so this image is basically have a source, and the source is going to be let's say data.urls. Okay, and also I'm going to grab the small. All right, and also the alt here, I'm going to use the data, and then I'm going to grab the alt description. Yeah, so in the ref here, I'm going to use, let's say data.urls, and I'm going to grab the regular like that. All right, and also I'm going to, when I click this image, okay, but first I'm going to save so you can see the result. As you can see here, okay, if I click this image here, when I click that, I need to, it's going to be open a new tab. So we need to add another props here. Let's say target set equals to underscore blank. Okay, it's going to be open new tab for us. So as you can see here, we have some error, so we need to use this rel here. So let's copy and put it here. Okay, so the another thing is I'm going to add a class name here to styling the image. So the height, I'm going to set that to 72, and the width, I'm going to set that to full, and also the object fit, I'm going to say, let's say cover here, and also the rounded, I'm going to set it to large. Okay, and also I'm going to give a shadow to medium. Okay, so now if I save this, and we should see this beautiful image. But as you can see here, I need to wrap this image inside this like a container, right? So let's go back to images here, and in this grid here, I'm going to add the maximal width. So let's say maximal width, I want to say 7XL, and I'm going to say MX auto to make it center, and also the padding horizontally, I'm going to set that to, let's say 4. Okay, so if I save, and here we go. Nice, but by default I need to showing catch here. So let's go back to app here, and I need to showing catch like that. Okay, cool. So now we need to working with the skeleton. So let's go to the images here. Okay, so we need to add some condition in here. So we are gonna say, let's say is loading. If is loading is true, I need to render component called skeleton here. Wait, I cannot see that. Skeleton, like that. And else I'm going to render this response, but we don't have the skeleton yet. So let's create the skeleton here. So let's say skeleton.js rrfc here. So let's do rrfc, and now I hope we can use auto import. Yeah, cool. We have the skeleton from skeleton. Nice. And we need to send the item props here. So let's say item set equals to, I want to say 10, which is 10 skeleton, right? Select the image here. So now let's go to the skeleton, and we are going to grab the item. Let's grab the item here. Okay, and now in this return here, I'm going to return, so let's say array here, and I'm going to create array, okay, with 10, which is the item. Okay, 10 different array with keys. So let's say keys here, and also I'm going to map through all of these array. Okay, I'm going to map through this array, and I'm going to say arrow function, and also in here I'm going to return a div. Okay, so let's say div. So in this div I'm going to add class name. So let's say class name set equals to the animate, must say pulse. Okay, and also inside this animate pulse I have div, and in this div I'm going to add class name, and the background I'm going to say, let's say gray 300, and also the rounded I'm going to say large. Okay, and the height of course is going to be 72. All right, so now if I save and let's refresh, as you can see we have the loading skeleton. Let's add the explanation here, and I save, and let's take a look, and as you can see we have this loading skeleton. Nice, right? And of course this is responsive as well. Okay, really cool. So let's remove the explanation, and now what we need to do is let's make the search field here work. Okay, so let's go back to search field. Okay, so first we need to create state. So let's say cons, and I'm going to give a name search value, and set search value set equals to use state. Okay, by default it's going to be empty string, and also the value of this input here is going to be the search value. So let's put value set equals to search value. So now we cannot typing anything inside this input search, right? Let's make it work. We can add the onChange event in here. So let's say onChange set equals to, let's say handle input change. Okay, so let's create the function. So I want to do up here, let's say const handle input change set equals to arrow function. So in here we are going to grab the event, and then I'm going to say set search value. Okay, and I'm going to say e dot target dot value. Okay, so now you can typing something in here. Okay, nice. So now we need to add the on click event in this button. Okay, this button here. So let's do here, I'm going to say on click event set equals to, let's say, handle button search. Okay, so let's create the function. I'm gonna do up here, so let's say cons handle button search set equals to arrow function. Okay, and in here I'm going to set the search value back to empty string. Okay, so let's try. If I do something here and if I click search, it's going to back to empty string. Okay, it's working. But if there's no value in here, I need to, the button here will be disabled. So we need to add a disable in here. So let's say disable set equals to explanation and then search value. So now as you can see, if there's no value, it's going to be disabled. Okay, nice. So now what we need to do is when I click this button here, I need to, the fetch data is running. So what we need to do is let's import the fetch data come from the context. So let's say cons. Okay, we grab the fetch data. Okay, it's going to become from useContext, right? And we need to put the input context here. Not input, but ImageContext. All right. So now we can running this fetch data function inside this handle button search. So we can say fetch data like so, and then we are going to use the same string here. So let's just copy and go back to search field here, and I'm gonna paste that right here. Okay, but of course the query here will be different. Okay, so we need to put the value come from the search value, right? So let's say search value like that. Okay, so now when I save and let's go back here and I say maybe dog. Okay, if I click enter, nothing happened, of course, because we don't handle the enter yet. But if I click search, bam, as you can see, we get loading, and then of course we get the image here. Nice. So now let's handle the enter functionality here, because when I typing something in here and I hit enter, nothing happened. So let's make it happen. So let's go to input tag here. So I'm going to add another props here. Let's say on key down set equals to, let's give a name handle enter search. Okay, so let's create a function. So let's say here I'm gonna say cons handle enter search set equals to, we grab the event here. Okay, so in here I'm gonna check first if, okay, if the e, okay, the e dot key is equals to enter. Okay, if user press enter, I need to do the fetch here and the search value here. Okay, so I'm gonna copy all this and paste that in here. Okay, it's going to be do the same thing. Okay, so if I save, let's go back and I'm gonna search for maybe girl. Okay, and I hit enter, and as you can see, it's working. Nice. But as you can see here, the result is still cat. Okay, we need to change this. So what we need to do is go to app.js, and in here I'm going to create a state here. Let's say cons, and I'm going to give a name search image and set search image. Okay, set equals to, by default is going to be empty string. All right, and now what we need to do is we need to send this search image into this value here. So let's say copy, and I'm gonna put it here, and also the set search image. So now we need to send the search image into the images. All right, so let's grab that here. Okay, and also now we can put the search image in here. So let's say search image. Okay, and I'm going to add default value, so I'm going to use or here. Let's say catch. Okay, and also it's going to be catch, and I'm going to change the value, the search image value here, into the search field. Okay, so in here we need to grab the set image, I forget the name. Where's the name? Yeah, set search image. Okay, we grab the function in here, and I'm going to set the search image here into the search value. All right, search value like that. So of course we need to copy this and paste that in here as well. All right, nice. So now let's save and let's take a look. If I search for maybe a laptop, let's say a laptop, and I hit enter, and as you can see we have all the laptop and I have this result for the laptop. Okay, nice. If I do car, if I hit enter, we have this result for car and all this car here. Okay, nice. And also if I click this image here, as you can see we on the new tab, and also we can download the image here. Okay, nice. All right, and the last thing that what we need to do is we need to change the title here. So let's go to the public and go to index.html, and the title here, let's change that to find images. Okay, so let's save, and here we go. So cool, right? So we can search anything we want. Let's say cars, these beautiful cars, we can click that, and then we can save image. Yeah, I think we're done with this simple project, and I hope you learned something new from this video. And yeah, see you in the next video, guys. Bye.